Welcome back to Forensics Detailing channel. Today is Judgment Day for the Red Peril. If you've been following the channel, I've been trying to get this car just running to its full potential. There she is. For the last, well, it hasn't been running right, I think, forever. Forever. If you've been following the channel, we discovered a fault with the resonator system on it, the intake valve flap, which opens at certain revs to provide peak performance resonance at certain points. But namely, when you come off vario cam, because the vacuum valve was stuck open, the vacuum was applying itself as soon as the car starts and draws vacuum through the engine. It was basically closing the resonator flap and leaving it stuck shut all the time the engine was running, which really is the worst scenario because you get suboptimal, I don't fully understand it, but you get poor resonance of airflow, which affects your engine efficiency, and it's particularly relevant, I think, at sort of north of 5,000 revs, where the opening of that flap times with the retraction of the vario cam, and you get a sort of surge of air. And it just seems, if it's working the resonator flap, you get a boost above 5,000 revs. And I'm now feeling a big difference since fixing. As soon as I fix that resonator flap, the pull north of 5,000 was noticeably different. The car idled better, was smoother, and just generally ran differently, just felt a lot sharper and really good. So I'm interested to see how the rolling road behaves today. So we're going to go up to Surrey Rolling Roads and roll it and re-rolling road it. I've got to pop over to Dan's Timeless Classics first because he's done his back in badly. We were all scheduled to go to Spa, and I think he's not going to be able to make it because he's done his back. And he's gone and ordered some really cool seats, but obviously he can't pick them up and move them around. He can't. He's stuck in the chair, so indoors. So I'm going to go around there and meet the guy that he's bought them off and put them in his garage and all that sort of stuff. Then head down to Surrey Rolling Road. So let's crack on with the day, and we'll see what happens. See what the day brings us. Doug. Okay, guys. So yeah, look at these. Dan's just bought these on eBay or something. The chap selling them brought them round. These are lovely. These are really nice. These are unusual. Look at that. Really nice carbon fibre on the back, but the unusual thing is that they're, retractable. So I don't think these are OEM, but they're really well made. Yeah, really nice. I'm going to paint them for him, so they've got a bit of bolster wear, but it's not punctured or anything. So I'll just, prep that and paint. Probably paint the whole thing will be easiest. You could put new foam in that. I wouldn't bother though. It's all right. It's good. And that passenger one is absolutely mint. So these are lovely. I'm well jealous actually, because this style is like the GT3 style, isn't it? And it just suits the car really nice. So I think Dan's going to put these in CGA, and it would just set the car off. Got little protection things there. That can come off. We'll take that tape off. They might not. I could probably replace those with a proper Porsche one, but whatever. These are nice seats. It's this bit here is lovely. Yeah, really cool. So that's job one for the day. So I'm going to lock up because he can't move. So these are going to sit here for a while. And then we're going to head to Surrey. Well, I'm going to head to Surrey Rolling Roads, and he's going to be lying in there for the next 3 months. Okay. So guys, I'm back home. So I've just overlaid the shot of the rolling road of the car doing its like final pull, which is like the best pull. And the car was producing 293 brake horsepower, which is fantastic. So out the box, they are brand new, they are 296. Surrey Rolling Roads is is known to be a very accurate rolling road. It's not a generous rolling road where they overestimate. So I'm really pleased with 293. I will be reverting my exhaust back to the Sports Cat dance system, which with the Cell 200. So that might gain me a couple more power with the over the stock kind of Cat system and aftermarket back boxes that are on there at the moment, which are a bit too loud, as I've talked about before. So it's possible after I've reverted back that we'll gain a few more, and we're running on paper exactly what it produces at stock, which is a phenomenal result. Now I'm just going to overlay you another graph, and this graph is where I've disconnected the vacuum so that the resonator valve, which starts off open, closes under variocam, you know, between 2 and 5,000, and then opens up after 5,000. That's the normal function. We disconnected the vacuum so that basically it stays open throughout the entire rev range, which is the most common problem, okay? And let me just overlay you that data now. Res flap disconnected. So what you can see from looking at that is with the valve permanently open, the resonator flap, we should say, you lose a little bit of mid-range torque, but your peak torque is unaffected because your peak torque, the flap should be open. So it's where the flap should be closed in the middle when you're on variocam, and it's open if the valve system is broken, that you lose a bit of mid-range torque. So it's not that massive. So if you're interested in, like, if you could do a resonator flap delete, you could, if you're increasing and modifying your air intake system and for race or track, because you're going to be up in that higher rev range most of the time anyway. You're going to be less worried about 2,000 through to 5, but you're probably worried more about 4,000 through to 7. So it's viable. We all already know that the data, if your flap is stuck closed, which mine was all the time, that's an unusual problem that would only happen under one fault condition, which is the electronic switch or solenoid activator that opens the vacuum. If that was stuck open, then it'd be sucking all the time and keeping your valve stuck. If you do that, you lose top end horsepower, and we know about 23 brake horsepower is lost. So the bottom line summary is resonator valve stuck closed is really going to affect your performance in the higher end. On variocam, it'll be fine because it should be closed there anyway, but it will affect your idle optimization as well. So you do not want a stuck close or permanently vacuum actuated because of a fault closed resonator flap. Really bad. A completely failed resonator system where it's just left in the open position, less critical. You get the idea on that. Very interesting to see the data, and the data all matches what you'd expect actually, but I just would never expect it to cost it so much high-end performance. So it's very important at that north of 5,000 revs when you come off of variocam. As we've talked about, I think you get the variocam retraction, a bit of suction, and it times the flap activation and gives you that perfect resonance air at the peak point where the engine needs it, and it gives it like a boost. So yeah, you get what you should get. So you get, like, it keeps going, whereas before we got up to about here and it would die off and go down and then recover a little bit like that. So now it keeps going. That's a really healthy curve for anyone looking at that. So you can see across there, that's 293 roughly, the peak right at top revs. And you can compare that to the previous run where it's the way the axis is done. Or is that the previous run? No, I don't think that is the previous run. Was that with the flap? No, because yeah, you're up above 280 there. So that's the previous run mapping. There's the run there. That's what it was with the broken flap. So you can see the difference. And I was feeling this. I was noticing that. And you can feel it. And as soon as it was fixed, I knew. As soon as it was doing this, I knew it. That's why I was confident it was fixed. And yeah, the data suggests it. Also, just by pure coincidence, down there at Surrey Rolling Roads, Reg turned up, Road Reg. He was rolling roading in his new BMW 330D E92 Touring, which is a lovely car. And his was producing healthy 250 brake horsepower, which is great. Yeah, great to catch up with Reg. Thank you as well to James, one of the guys in the Aero Club, who helped me with this problem, and he had a similar problem. And he helped me with it and explained and sent me loads of information on the vacuum system. We were talking about it more today. Yeah, by understanding the system, then it's easy. Well, if you don't understand it, you can't try and diagnose it or fix it. So he helped me understand it, and then, you know, once I understand it, that's when I probed it, and you know, we found the fault. So yeah, really pleased, guys. So if you want to peek out the performance of your Porsche 996 with the 3.4 early cable throttle Gen 1 M96 engine, you need to have a working resonator system in there. That's a thing. And I would suggest you have a standard airbox setup with that. You know, if you've got the resonator flap, just have the standard Porsche system is the way to go. Okay, and make sure that's all working. If that's all working and you're not producing more than 280, then you might want to look at fuel injectors and fueling. You'd want to look at airflow just to rule that out. If your car's running good but it's just not making that power, it's probably likely to be the injectors, I think. Another thing that was really interesting, James has got a CSR 3.4 996, and his dyno's at around 320 with the same engine, which is fascinating actually, because he's got modifications that were made by RPM Technic, who make the CSR, you know, did the CSR build on his car, and they were looking at modifying cams a bit like an X51 setup. But I don't think they did that in the end, but they have modified intake. So he's got a larger throttle body and throttle body flap thing with a bigger hole. And the thing that the throttle body mounts onto, the rubber T-piece, he's got like a metal one, which is a wider bore. But very importantly, I talked about this in the engine video the other day. I may or may have not published because Dan's got his engine out. The inlet, the metal inlet manifold bracket that bolts onto the side of the engine that the plastic intake plenum bolts to is bored out. You know, it's ported, and the injectors connect into that bracket, and obviously the air intake connects into that bracket. You pump the fuel straight in on that bracket through a hole. His, I think, are ported and wider, so that you've got that last point of going into the engine, there's more airflow. And I think that might be the key to him getting more performance. So I'm very interested in his air intake system, because it means that the stock engine can potentially do 320 brake horse without any internal modifications, which is fascinating to me, because that's quite a lot of horsepower. Yeah, so that's something I'm going to explore. I need to speak to Dan about that. He'll be very excited about that, because it means while Dan's engine's off, we can explore doing something similar to get more performance. Mind you, just thinking, I don't want Dan's car too quick. If he's 20 brake horsepower up on me, I won't be able to keep up with him. He's already lighter, or the car is. He's not. I'm lighter than him now. Yeah, so that's really interesting that you could do something like that. Yeah, so that's something to explore, so we can use his car as a guinea pig. Anyway, the bottom line is we're back in business. Power figures are healthy. So thank you very much for watching. I've got a celebratory cake. I know I'm on a diet, but I haven't really eaten all day. I did have a bit of cookie, don't ask, but only half. I'm going to have a cupcake to celebrate. It's, yeah, it's a bit rustic, but it will do. Take care. Doug.